Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it is time once again to jump out on the ledge and realize that that hangover you have is because of a bad, bad night. This is one of those hangovers. Your lady left you, your dude ditched you, you just lost your job, and you found out that that baby that you're just putting through college is a stripper from Poughkeepsie. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Welcome to the Steelers Hangover. Week 3 was ugly, but what's handsome are my two friends here, Tony Defeo and Shannon White. Gentlemen, how are you? Let's start with Tony. What's up, buddy?
Actually, when you after that opening, I don't feel 1 and 2 doesn't seem so bad. I'd rather have that problem than how you described what 1 and 2 would be like with your family or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I'm doing pretty well considering. How about you?
You know what? I've lost my job in the past. I've had my wife, the ex Mrs. Bad, leave me. So the baby, that's never quite happened. It was close, but it's never quite happened. Shannon, what's going on, my man?
Just trying to keep a head above water. After yesterday, it's been, I'm ashamed to admit that how the Steelers play and how the results, the game goes, I let it affect me as much as I do. But I've just had to walk away for a while, and I'm ready to come back now and talk some Steelers football.
Absolutely. So let's just say this. Yeah, it is okay to be mad. They sucked. And if you watch the press conference with Mike Tomlin afterwards, he took the blame. He doesn't do that as much as Ben Roethlisberger does. Ben Roethlisberger does it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, I mean, I think that's his thing. If something happens at home, somebody leaves the jar off the peanut butter at the Roethlisberger house. It's like, hey, this is on me. I let the family down, but we're gonna do better. That's him. Tomlin doesn't do that as much. So when Tomlin takes responsibility, that's a big thing. But he also pinned responsibility on his players. And there's something that he said over and over and over again, and it is, we will absorb the negativity and resolve to do better. And that's really not much you could say. But when they had 2 questions left on the press conference, fellas, this was a really interesting thing. Somebody started and he cut whoever it was off because he goes, don't ask me if I'm happy about the way something went. We just got our butts kicked. And
right.
And let's see, CA Steele is saying we ran out of bullets. Yeah, so he mentioned that the team ran out of bullets on that 4th down play. I'm not sure what that means. Tyler Boyd comes out today, Pittsburgh kid from the Cincinnati Bengals, and his words are, they gave up. We made them quit. So that's the first question, fellas. But before I ask that question, keep in mind, friends, it's okay to be mad. And it's okay to come to this forum and talk it out. This is a support group today because, as Shannon said, it affected him today. He had to walk away from it. And the thing about that for me is, yeah, you know what? This is our fantasy world. We watch football to escape. We watch to feel good. We watch to root and live vicariously through a football team. And that's kind of what we do. And so it's okay to be down. You just don't take it out on your family. Realize that, hey, there's a lot more to be thankful for. If this is the worst thing that happens, that it's going to be a good week. And hope that they can absorb the negativity and resolve to do better. And we've seen them do that in the past. So that's a thing. So that's a disclaimer. Was it going to happen? No, we're going to talk about that. But let me ask you fellas first. How do they absorb the negativity and resolve to do better? Is that easier said than done? Shannon.
I've been trying to figure that out about what they can do to improve. And, they all claim that they don't pay attention to social media. They don't listen to our podcast. which, as a professional athlete, a lot of times it's probably the wise thing to do. But I think you have to look at, you're having three important contributors, hopefully coming off of the IR this week. And, if you could say, well, I'm going to sign a top defensive lineman to bring in to help you, you lost a Lulu, and we're going to bring in a new right tackle that hasn't played for you this year, and some.
All right, we're having some trouble with Shannon there with his connectivity. Tony, I'll let you take it from here.
As far as how you get better, I mean, Shannon was trying to allude to, I guess, some of these injuries, some of these injured players, getting them back. Especially on defense, obviously TJ Watt, I think they're everything now. He's the new face of the franchise as far as what it takes for them to win games. If he's in there, then they're a completely different team, because he can affect so much on defense and give them better opportunities for a struggling offense. As far as the offense is concerned, how that gets better, I don't know. I mean, this goes back to, Jeffrey Benedict talks about this all the time. This goes back to that Tennessee game, and Tennessee found out the way to beat them, even though they lost that game ultimately. But since that game, it's been a struggle for this offense. And, I went and did some research, and since the Baltimore game that came right after that, the one at M&T Bank Stadium, they've been behind by 2 scores or more in 10 out of their last 14 games. And, so this obviously is not a slump. This is a trend. So this might be something they have to endure for a while. And we've seen it in the past. We saw it in 2012, 2013. Those 2 years were kind of iffy until they've rectified the situation. Now, I don't know if that involves Big Ben or if it involves another quarterback, but as far as the offense, I mean, some of the best minds in football are figuring this out, or trying to figure this out, and they can't do it. So I don't know what the solution is as far as getting better, other than you have to try to improve the offensive line. Maybe that starts with bringing back somebody like Zach Banner, but he's such an improvement too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe that's the way to get started, but you also have the potential. We do not know how depleted that offensive line is after Sunday's game. Right. And you're losing players that, now save the comments on this one. We're not celebrating an injury to a player, but you have Chooks out with a concussion, and I don't want to hear what you think of his play right now. I'm just saying that Chooks is out with a concussion, and he's a starter. You have Kendrick Green that might have a tweakage with his knee. That could be a problem too on a line that is not performing, losing 2 guys that are probably the best that you have to go out there. That's why they're starters. That's an even bigger problem. So, injuries added to insult right now, because that's an insulting line, the way they're playing, but they're even more injured.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
And I just want to, people keep, and I see it in the live chat, people keep talking about trading for a lineman. The problems with this line are so great now, and it's not just one player. So what makes anybody think that bringing in one lineman is going to solve the issue? I mean, this is a matter of, like we keep saying, you're probably just going to have to find the right combination with what you have on the roster right now, and hope that they can gel into a cohesive unit by the end of the year. I mean, remember, there's 3 young guys on this line, from left tackle to center, and then you have uncertainty on at right tackle. So, one player is not gonna do it. I don't think. You just have to take your hits right now. You have to absorb the negativity and hope that you can that these guys develop by the end of the year.
All right, so here's the big debate. You've got, this could be a chicken and egg situation. You've got a problem right now with the way Ben Roethlisberger is playing. The offensive line played a little bit better when he only got hit 7 times this week instead of 10 the week before against Las Vegas.
Right.
But here's the thing. If the offensive line finds a way to improve, is Ben good enough, Shannon?
I believe so. I think a lot of the accuracy issues is like if he would have hit that one deep ball to Washington, the Steelers probably would have still lost due to circumstances, but you'd probably be a little bit of a different conversation right now. I seen in one place that it was 11 drops. So you have a combination of Ben's not playing well, but why is Ben not playing well? Deontay Johnson is his best receiver. He's the guy who is the best at getting separation and getting open. He didn't have him. At one point he didn't have Juju. He didn't have Claypool. I was trying to figure out who was running routes out there. And again, still not using the middle of the field. The intermediate routes nearly is enough. So it's a combination of things. Right now, everything looks bad because nothing's working. Will that improve if you take Ben out and put Rudolph in? I can't say for sure. I don't think it will. I think he's going to have the same issues that Ben's having with the line play and the lack of a running game. Either people's going to have to start improving, being included, or changes are going to have to be made. And, so I really don't know what the answer is.
Tony, is this 2003 all over again?
I think there's the potential there, yeah, because the offense has been, it's been the same old story with the offense since the middle of last year, and it's like like when you have a computer problem and you or a connection problem, a technical problem, you try the same thing over and over again, and you keep getting the same result, until you try something different, the issue isn't solved, and I don't know. When you saw how they played yesterday, especially in the first half, it was the same kind of plays over and over again. Like Shannon said, they're not really utilizing the middle of the field. It's a lot of quick passes, the quick hitters to Claypool, and a lot of dump offs now to Najee Harris. So I don't know if it's going to be 2003 all over again, but it certainly kind of feels like 2013 when they lost a lot of games early on and had to rebound at the end of the year just to finish at 8-8. It looks like it's heading towards that kind of year. I don't know if it's going to be that. I mean, it could be just as far as Ben, whether or not he's done, it's hard to say because I think right now he's afraid to get hit, and he's getting rid of the ball so quickly. He's not the same guy that he used to be, and maybe rightfully so for him. In his defense, he's not 25, 28 years old anymore. He's not supernatural. He's 39, so he doesn't want to maybe take that punishment anymore. Unfortunately for him, he is taking a lot of punishment, but I just think he's afraid to get hit, and he's not sitting back there and reading the defense. He's just wanting to get rid of the ball as quickly as possible because he's expecting the protection to break down, within a second or two.
Well, there's always going to be a camp. There's going to be a pro Ben camp. There's going to be a camp that says it's he's done, and that's exactly where it's going to be. I mean, I think everybody here is pro Ben as far as they like him, but the ones that are in the camp that he's done are saying that it's time for him to hang it up and go. So, look, I want to see him work. I know exactly what he can do. I still think that's a possibility. I think it's a combination of a few things. But I want to ask Shannon this question. Shannon, I want to make a pizza. But here's the problem. Alls I have are a bunch of Triscuits. I've got some ketchup, and I have some cottage cheese. That's not going to make a good pizza, is it? Do the Steelers have the ingredients for a good pizza right now on offense?
Really can't answer that yet. I mean, on paper, the potential's there. They don't have a true number one wideout, but they've got a lot of really good receivers. They don't have a proven backfield, but they have a number 1 draft pick. Harris is killing himself trying to be successful and get yards and taking on 2 and 3 hits every time he gets the ball, trying to, drag out a 1 or 2 yard run. Again, yesterday, don't want to make excuses, but without those penalties, he lost about 50 or 60 yards on a couple of runs and a reception on some really borderline, if not invisible calls. And his numbers would have looked much different. The offense would have maybe had some, rhythm in the first half. You don't know what's going to happen. A drop, a penalty, all these things will kill a drive. A missed throw, throwing it to the back shoulder when you're trying to, if you lead him in the middle, it's going to be a big play. All these things are happening. And it's, as you said, it's a combination of things. But I do believe the talent's there. The experience and the execution, I don't know what to say about that.
It's tough to say. I mean, like putting the finger on the problem. Now, I'm going to bring up Jerry Hall's comment here. This is interesting, and this is a question, that I kind of asked on the preview yesterday. Who's calling the plays seriously? So, Tony, I'm going to ask you this, and the reason I'm asking you this, people are we've seen some people are down on Matt Canada's offense, and then when you look at it, you're seeing some of the same things that you've seen the last couple of years. It's 3rd and 4. You need just a little bit to get a first down, and you're throwing the deep ball on the first possession of the game. That's vintage Ben. And look, I love Ben Roethlisberger, and I'm not having a lynch mob for Ben Roethlisberger. That's not what I'm doing here. All I'm saying is I saw this meme on Facebook today or on Twitter, and it was the 3 Spider-Mans all pointing at each other. And one was labeled Fietner, Canada, and Haley. And they were all pointing at each other. And so is this a situation where Ben's still making the calls, or he's calling the plays on his own and nobody's standing up to Ben, or is there no imagination? And is it coming from the top?
I think you can see some of Canada's influence, like last week's touchdown, the one to was it Juju? Was it like like a handoff end around, and then yesterday with the little shuttle pass to Freiermuth, that has Canada written all over it. But I think they struggle so much on offense, especially at the beginning of the game, that you have a guy like Roethlisberger who's 39. He's been around the block. He's the most influential person in the organization. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, and I think he just says, look, I'm just going to do it my way because he knows what's worked for him in the past. I think that's what you're seeing a lot, especially in the second half of games, because it looks an awful lot like what we've seen in the past, and I think he's more comfortable with that, and that's what he goes to. So I think it's just a combination of Canada being new, maybe being kind of afraid to stand up to Ben, and Ben having so much respect within the organization that they let him have the autonomy. And you know what? So many quarterbacks of his stature do the same things. Like Tom Brady is known for that. A lot of these guys do that. Peyton Manning was like that, waving people off. We're going for it. So I don't think it's necessarily exclusive to Ben. I think it's just quarterbacks of his stature do that, and I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing We're seeing Matt Canada in stages, but he's not. I don't think he has the command yet to make it all his offense just yet.
Okay, Wes, who's a good friend of the show, he says this: Canada's offense is predicated upon a quarterback who can run, right. And so that's not here right now because Ben's a pocket guy at this point, and it's kind of tough because what Ben can do in certain situations, but it can't be 100% Ben when you have an offensive line that's not getting it done. I don't know what the problem is with the receivers at this point. And I just don't know because they seem like a talented group. They do some talented things. Then it's not clicking. And when I'm saying it's not clicking, there's certain plays where the the play-by-play man and the analyst for CBS is saying that, okay, they're just not on the same page on this.
Right.
How do you get off of the same page when you've had time together and you're in camp? Does this go back all the way to the fact that the guy's playing 2 or 3 quarters in a preseason game, Shannon? 2 or 3 quarters, excuse me.
Yeah, well, the risk of injury, very few of the quarterbacks, especially Ben's age group, would play more than that, especially behind an inexperienced line. But it's impossible to duplicate the same pressure situation of a full stadium, at practice. And, the younger the surrounding talent is, there's going to be a learning curve. And, they're having the baptism by fire, in other words. So there's been a disconnect. There's a disconnect between the Ben and the receivers, between the coaching staff and the players. They need something good to happen. If they can get a few good plays together, get them a few drives together, start scoring some points, it'll build their confidence. And right now it seems like everybody's trying too hard. Right. And a lot of times when you try to do too much, you end up doing too little. And I get that feeling right now.
All right, so we do have a super chat, and I love this one, and I want to bring it up. One of our favorites here is Snowman, a longtime contributor to the show. He gives us $5. Thank you very much, Snowman. I blame Tomlin and Colbert didn't draft offensive linemen when some of the old starters were getting old. So now that makes me think, okay, yeah, they went after some linemen this year, and we're seeing those guys. It was a 3rd-round pick for your center, Kendrick Green, which was absolutely needed. And we're seeing the seeds of something good with Kendrick Green. But Dan Moore, also your 4th rounder. There's your 2 offensive linemen. Now, we're seeing them now, and they're getting baptism by fire, and that's great. But Snowman has a point. If you look back at the last few drafts, the earliest lineman that was picked in 2020 was Kevin Dotson in the 4th round. In 2019, the earliest lineman that was selected was with the 7th round pick. And not only the 7th round pick, but a 7th round pick out of 9 picks. It was the very last pick. So the 9th pick of that draft was an offensive lineman, Derwin Gray, who is, I don't know if he was picked up again by anybody. He was on 2 separate teams. If you look at 2018, Chooks came with the 2nd pick of the 3rd round, and he was the 4th pick overall for the Steelers. In 2017, none whatsoever. Right. In 2016, you've got Gerald Hawkins in the 4th round. I could go on. 2015, none. 2014, Wesley Johnson, an offensive lineman who did not make the squad, ended up with the Jets. Right. He went in the 5th round. He was their 6th overall pick. But what I'm saying here is, guys, Snowman is kind of right here. They have not had any priority above the 3rd round with a lineman in all of those drafts. The last time that a lineman was a priority in the 1st round was 2012, and in the 2nd round, 2012, when you had David DeCastro. That 66 always screws me up. David DeCastro and Mike Adams.
Right.
And then nothing since then.
Can I say something about that?
Go ahead.
Well, they made it, as you said, they made it a priority in the early part of the decade. And before that, they didn't really draft a lineman higher than the third round after Max Starks in 2004, I want to say, through 2010, because they had one of the best lines in the NFL for a stretcher. They had Marvell Smith, obviously Faneca, Jeff Hardings, Kendall Simmons. So they were trying to address other areas, and then in the recent memory, they built up that line to one of the premier units in the NFL. So they were trying to fix other areas, like mainly the defense. And that's where you got guys like T.J. Watt came into the picture, Devin Bush. So when you're set in one area of a team and you're still trying to win, and they're always trying to win now. It's been their motto for years, their mantra forever. They're always trying to win. They're trying to rebuild while winning, or so you're going to concentrate your resources on other areas. And I think that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to rebuild that defense, while in the meantime their offensive line was full of Pro Bowlers. So I guess it's kind of easier to say in hindsight, but I kind of get what they were trying to do in the moment.
All right, so there is so much debate here, and we're not going to solve it all in this show, and we don't know if it's going to be solved at all. But it's something that what we need to do here is try to find a reason to move on. And when I say move on with the season. And is there hope? Is there a chance to go ahead and absorb the negativity, like Mike Tomlin said, and resolve to be better? We're going to answer that question when we get back, and we're going to answer your questions as well. We're going to open up the Q&A. Go ahead, throw it out there. I can't wait to see some of these, because I know you're hurting. You're football hurting right now. So I definitely agree with you. And there's a lot of Mike Adams was not good. Yes. I'm not even trying to say that he was.
They addressed it anyway. They addressed it by drafting him. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, it was an attempt. It didn't work. Just like my Triscuit ketchup and cottage cheese pizza. It's just not going to work. But remember, just a couple months ago, we were calling Kevin Colbert a genius. Now, after 3 games, we're blaming him. So we're going to do those things when we get back. Get your questions ready. We're going to throw them in. Well, we'll do our best to make the best of a 1-2 situation, I guess we can say. At least it's not 0-3. With that being said, let's take a break. If you are on Facebook or YouTube, just stick around. We're stretching. We're going to be right back. If you're checking us out on any of the podcast platforms where you download your favorite podcast, I hope this is one of yours. And even if you don't like me, I hope it's one of yours because of the great insight from Tony and Shannon. So with that being said, go ahead, download number 2. We will be right back right after this. Welcome back to the Steelers Hangover. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Alongside me is Shannon White and Tony Defeo from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. We thank you for joining us, and it's great to see 151 eyes here just on the Facebook side alone. Also, on the YouTube side as well, and we're glad to see a lot on Facebook as well. There's some happy emojis. There's some thumbs up. There's some very angry faces. We get it, because Tony, Bryan, Shannon, we're all fans, and we agree. But what we're looking at right now is a reason to move on, a reason to think that this season can be salvaged. Now, a lot of you, could be in the camp that there's no way it's going to be salvaged. And I understand that. And you are really... You're not wrong to think that way, because that's what the eye test is showing you right now. But let's start off with Tony. I want to ask you this question: what's keeping you coming back, and not because you have to, because you have a contract with BTSC?
What's keeping me coming back? I love the Steelers. I've been watching them since 1980. I've seen 5-11, 6-10, 7-9, and of course Super Bowls, lots of playoff years. So that's the great thing about sports is it's the best reality TV. It is. It's better than the Kardashians, that's for sure. And you never know what can happen from week in and week out. I mean, they might go to Lambeau Field next week and beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. I mean, who would have thought they were going to beat the Bills a couple weeks ago, and they did that. So that's what keeps you coming back. And of course, there's always hope for tomorrow. The defense is going to be healthy again. We assume as healthy as it can be. Obviously, T.J. Watt's going to come back, and he makes so much of a difference. And then you just never know what that offense. There's just so many unknowns yet. I mean, like I said on the podcast on Friday, this offensive line is pretty bad right now. But when a young line is on the ascent, sometimes or a young unit is on the ascent, there's a lot of hiccups in there. So you don't know if it's going to be good until it is good. So there's the uncertainty there. So there's still some hope in my mind.
Tony, I'm going to ask you a question. It's a personal question, but I do want to ask you this. In 1989, how much hair did you have?
You cut out. You're talking to me?
Yes. On your head in 1989, how much hair did you have? And I know this is a personal question.
I had all of it. I had a big, thick head of hair, and I was like, here's how ironic life is. I said, I hated my hair. And I said, I wish I had a hairline like Fred Dryer, because I liked Hunter back then. And boy, did that come to fruition, didn't it?
Be careful what you ask for. Okay, the reason I'm asking you that, how much hair did you lose when the Steelers lost in week 1 to the Cleveland Browns 51-0, and week 2 in Cincinnati 42-10?
Oh, my hair was indestructible back then. I didn't lose any, but I was definitely pretty darn angry about it.
So, Shannon, let me ask you this. Do you remember that 1989 season?
Yes.
Do you remember who they played in week 3 in 1989? Tony does. Not. Tony does. Was it a playoff team from the NFC, Tony?
Yes, it was the team that was on the positive end of the greatest trade in NFL history, the Vikings. I was at that game at Three River Stadium. That's where I witnessed the beginning of the turnaround.
Yeah, they were on the losing end, right?
I know. I was being sarcastic.
I was gonna say, yeah. In fact, they traded him maybe about 3 or 4 weeks after that game.
Right.
So that was Herschel. If you're wondering, we're talking about Herschel Walker, and they were supposed to go 0-3 and just get absolutely destroyed in that game, because that Vikings team was a playoff team that year and a very good team. And Steelers had them at home, and they beat them. Right. And that was just Shannon. You remember that game?
No, actually, I don't remember that one. I remember them 2 butt kickings, but I don't remember the third one.
Yeah, so that's the one that made them turn the season around. And next thing you know, they're a Mark Stock drop and a boink off the crossbar from David Treadwell for the Broncos from going into the AFC Championship game. Mm-hmm. So things do change, and that there was not much to really look forward to. In fact, I think this might be a better lineup on the offensive side of the ball this time around than in 1989. But that's a debate for another time. But all I'm saying is that there's got to be reason for me to believe that something can happen, because we've seen them pull out of ugly situations, but this is pretty darn ugly right now. Shannon White, so what's keeping you coming back?
I just love the Steelers. Like I said, they've been one of the consistent after God and family friends. The Steelers is something that's always been a part of my life, and my loyalty to the team, it's part of who I am. And I'm going to cheer for them. I'm going to root for them, win, lose, or draw. I've watched Mean Joe's last seasons, and that was hard. Jack Lambert, being taken out by a turf toe. Bradshaw with the elbow, Greg Lloyd with the knee injury, and he comes back and then he gets a staph infection and he finishes out his career with Carolina, a shadow of his former self. Troy Polamalu and Hines Ward, not being able to do what they always had done. They couldn't come through like they always had. And This could be the same watching another one of my all-time favorites in Ben, but I'll root for him. They'll always be like family to me. There's times I don't want to watch. There's points in the game I wish I could be like a lot of the other people and just turn the TV off and go do something else. But it's not who I am. And my loyalty, I believe black and gold. So that's why I keep coming back. That's why I'll never go anywhere.
I love it. And I just want to bring up this quote here from Micah Everett. Tony, I don't know how much you paid him, but this is awesome. And I really think this is great. Tony's the spirit of Pittsburgh. And I really appreciate that. I love it.
Thank you.
Ron Chess, I want to bring up Ron Chess as well. Bad Tony Shannon, I'm not mad. I'm blessed to be a Steeler fan for 50 years. Look at all the success. That's great. I want to bring up Chad Landsman. I am a Steelers fan, not a cheerleader fan. I respect that too.
There are some really beautiful cheerleaders out there. I don't know what his problem is. Anyway.
I definitely respect that too. So this is what I want to say. We've got so many names here. And if you're listening to this podcast right now or a couple days down the road, this is being recorded on Monday night. If you're checking out this podcast, that means that you bleed black and gold. That means that after that debauchery that you saw yesterday on the screen, and it was terrible. My dad left the house. He came to visit, and he's like, that's it, we're leaving. And my nephew, who's 14, who's a Noah's a diehard Steeler fan. And I begged my sister to name him Arthur for Arthur Rooney. And this was in 2006 when he was born. And she would not. But I made him pose with a picture with a terrible towel. He was like 2 hours old. He had a picture of Art Rooney next to him, Art Rooney Sr., and a terrible towel. And that's 2 hours old. He bleeds black and gold. You all bleed black and gold for being in here. You are mad. You should be mad because you have not seen this terrible of a showing.
Right.
I like to think that the Steelers are this mad. I know Mike Tomlin seems this mad. I hope there's an answer. Don't know what it is, but my goodness, they need to find a way to come out of this. And they're going to go into the laboratory and they're going to see what they can do. And let's just hope that they can. I want to bring up Snowman. Again, he gives us $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Snowman. We appreciate it. Black and gold until I'm dead and cold. That's the thing. I could pull any name out of the hat here. Any name that's on the board. And I'm going to say, if this team goes 1-16 for the season, are you coming back next year? You might say no, but you'll be back because this is your team.
Right.
You love this team. And you love what they can do. They seem like they are a shell of themselves right now. And they very well might be.
Right.
In fact, I was telling you about, I got off track and I apologize because I do that. But my dad was like, I'm leaving. And my nephew didn't want to go. So my nephew comes walking back in the house and I said, what's up? He said, Pap's going to Walmart. I'm going to watch the rest of the game. So my dad goes to Walmart. I didn't get to see him leave because I'm on the post-game show. And then so I called him up later. I'm like, how was Walmart? He's like, it was good. It was better than that game. He had it. But guess what?
Right.
He'll be back next week.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll be rooting hard against Green Bay. He cannot stay away. And he's tried. I mean, my dad's a veteran of the Navy, Vietnam era veteran, and he left a little bit. He left for almost the rest of the 2017 season for what was going on. And I'm not saying this to be political, but he was done for a little bit. But he came back because the biggest bond, and I'm very close to my dad, But the biggest bond that we've ever had, and we can always go back to, we can be mad at each other. We go back to the Steelers as that glue, and it always is.
Oh yeah,
and that's what a lot of people have. So, as hurt and mad as you are, you'll be back. And this isn't a challenge. It's in your heart. You love these guys, and we've had a lot of great years. We've had, not every year is going to end in a Super Bowl season. I looked it up since somebody wrote in the live chat. When was the last time this team's won anything? Well, only 10 teams have won a Super Bowl since they've won. Back in 2008. There's another 21 teams that. Am I doing that right? Yeah. There's another 21 teams that can't say the same.
Right.
And go ahead, Tony.
Oh, I mean, it's tough to repeat that kind of thing. I've said it many times. I mean, that was that era that they had from 2004 really to 2010. That was the second greatest era in the team history. And when any team in the NFL has that kind of a run, I mean, you see the next decade or so after that, it's usually not nearly as good unless you're the Patriots. But even they're struggling now. So it comes to an end for all teams, and eventually you have to endure some downtimes, and it's not as simple as snapping your fingers and having everything be okay again. You just have to endure it, and you have to trust in the organization that they can figure things out eventually. And I mean, we've been here before. We were here 2012, 2013, and it was a pretty ugly time, and they rebounded and had a nice 4 or 5 year run. So, I mean, sports is the most cyclical thing there is. So, I mean, it's gonna be okay again. What?
But be mad. It is okay to be mad. Shannon was mad. He walked away today from. He didn't look at the live chat. He didn't look at the comment section, and I get it. And he walked away. But don't walk away for too long if it's something you love. Always accept the things in your life that you love, and accept the fact that there are warts. And this team has a lot of them right now. Let's see what we're talking about, and definitely be here, because we are going to be here to support you through everything. And there's going to be some warts, and then there's going to be big compound W, and that compound W is wins, and hopefully that piles up. I want to bring up Kyle Younger. I love this. I haven't seen this terrible of a showing since they lost to the Lions on Thanksgiving in 1983 during the Cliff Stout years. I remember exactly where I was at my grandmother's house watching I can see myself laying on the floor. I could see my dad passed out from tryptophan on the turkey, because he was like, I think he had enough that day too. Like, I'm going to sleep. Yesterday, Ben reminded me of Cliff Stout, gave me PTSD. That's funny.
I remember that game too. I was at my grandmother's house for Thanksgiving.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's ugly. Let's go ahead and answer some questions. And if I don't answer your question, go and throw it back in. I'm fine. There's a lot to sift through. Mark DeRogatis, do you think Tomlin's seat getting warmer after every loss? Let's go rapid fire on this with a quick answer. Shannon?
That's not always easy for me. They've lost, I don't know how many home games going back to last year, which is really concerning. But I don't think one of the Rooneys are anything but they're faithful, and they don't make knee-jerk reactions like we often do. So I don't think that they're putting all the blame on him, but everybody's bears some responsibility. So I won't say his seat's getting hotter, but nobody's in a good standing at the moment.
Tony, Reggie Rivers, good friend Reginald, do you guys think that the Steelers wasted Rudolph years sitting behind Ben?
No, because I don't think he was necessarily ready when he first came in. If anything, he's one of the quarterbacks that maybe sitting behind and learning a system might benefit him. So, I mean, I think most quarterbacks you have to throw him in right away. But I think in Rudolph's case, I think he needed time to sit. Okay,
this is a great question. I'm going to go ahead and answer this one. Shane Giggles, I love the name. That's awesome. That made me happy. I enjoyed that. The actual question, all caps, is do you want it to turn around this year? At this point, it's just prolonged that the bleed will happen. Here's the thing. I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. I know everybody else on the screen is. The three of us, we're all Pittsburgh Pirate fans. I have found myself saying that I'm going to listen to the games when I listen to them or look for the final score when it pops up. And I resolved in the middle of the season when it started off so poorly that I was just going to hope for a first-round draft choice and hope for them to lose. Next thing you know, June or July, they sweep the Mets. And I'm like, all right, I can't do that anymore. I can't do that. This is my team. I can't root for them to lose. And, first-round draft picks in baseball, that's a completely different thing. Steelers had a horrible year at 5-11. In 2003, and that's the one that netted Ben Roethlisberger and a lot of good things for this team they have not had a losing season since. This could be that year that they matched 2003, but nobody was rooting for them to lose. They were just hoping to see them turn around. And what happens? What happens is in the last month of the season, they won 2 or 3 games in the last month of the season. They really put some
fun.
They beat Oakland, San Diego. They in fact, they almost beat Baltimore for the last game on Sunday Night Football. They were in that game, and they looked pretty good. You go back to 1988. What a horrendous season that was. They won 3 out of their last 4 and screwed themselves out of Troy Aikman, out of Barry Sanders, out of Deion Sanders, out of Derek Thomas. And they ended up with Tim Worley, who they were thrilled to get at number 7. But you know what? No one was rooting. It's hard to root for them to lose. So yeah, you know what? You want them to turn around.
I just don't. I don't get how anybody could want a team that they love to fall off the table and win 1 or 2 or 3 games. It just, you might as well. What's the point of even if that's what you want? I mean, what's the point of even turning the TV on?
Sam Kim asked this question, and I'm going to go to I think Tony's next on this one, but I'm going to throw this to Shannon. I'm going to hear Shannon's thoughts on this. So there's no faith in Rudolph. Number 7 is not going to get better. Do we really think that this is a soul Ben problem? And I know we've talked about this earlier on. What's Rudolph going to do behind this line and on this offense right now, Shannon?
Well, everything's Ben's fault, according to a lot of the people that's commenting. They say, how could he throw that first interception? He was hit as his arm was in motion, knocked to the ground. The ball floats across the middle, and the linebacker makes a nice diving interception. And they said he threw it right to him. Again, being critical, saying he's not playing well, all that stuff's fine. But some of these comments are ridiculous. And, they're blaming him for everything, inflation, it doesn't matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So put Rudolph in, that's what I would say, but I think that would be doing being a disservice because Rudolph's not mobile either. And I have a feeling he's going to get knocked out like he did when he started, in that Baltimore game, trying to play behind this line. Because Ben's a lot of things, but Ben is definitely tough. And he's took some big shots already this year. Shots that a lot of guys wouldn't have got up, or they'd have went on the sidelines and let somebody else take a beating. But Ben's a competitor. I don't think he's the whole problem. He's part of the problem. There's no doubt. He needs more help at this age, and he's not getting it. I don't think a lot of quarterbacks would be doing good behind this offensive line right now with the lack of a running game, especially older, immobile quarterbacks. So, everybody's got to play better, and I think he will. He has to if they're going to save the season.
Carly McAdams, this is not a question, but she says, bad. The Steelers need to look to the future. I agree with you that they need to look to the future. But if we're talking about the quarterbacks, I don't think the future quarterback is on this team. I don't think it's Mason Rudolph, and I don't think it's Dwayne Haskins. So I will definitely say that. Now, Tony, this is a Tony question. I love it. And this is my good friend, Johnstown, bred and born, my hometown, Nap 1963, my buddy. How about if the BS roughing the passer doesn't give the Bengals points, Tony?
Well, I mean, that was a BS call. I mean, let's be real. That was not roughing the passer. I don't think any objective person would say that was roughing the passer. But at the same time, they had the ball at the 47 at that point after that call. I mean, it's not like it was first and goal at the 5 after that. Good teams have to stop that. They have to prevent them from scoring there. And okay, the defense was compromised. James Pierce, a young player, fine. But I think that turned the tide of the game, and a good team shouldn't let that play turn the tide of the game. I think after that, the Steelers were kind of the momentum was lost, and it was all on the side of the Bengals, and it never recovered. But a good team is supposed to be able to recover from that. So yeah, it was a BS call, but I wouldn't say that they gifted them points there. They still had a whole half a field to go to score a touchdown.
Okay, Shannon, one word answer. Are we in all agreement that was rock bottom?
Hope so.
That's not a one-word answer.
I'm afraid it might get worse before it gets better, but I hope that's the bottom.
Okay, Tony. Rapid fire, quick. And rapid fire is boom. Let's get in, get out, and nobody gets hurt.
Yes,
Gregory Robinson says, do you guys see Ben as the starting quarterback for the rest of the season if healthy?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. You can say a little more than that.
Yes.
Ben Tavares says, Shannon, are our wide receivers made of glass?
No.
I love that question, Bert. I love it. Aloha, Bert from Hawaii. There you go. Might as well. Javier, he's a good contributor to the show. Who would the Steelers go after if Tomlin was to go, just for the sake of argument? Tony.
Oh gosh. I couldn't even tell you. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
I think that I just don't see him going.
Bill Belichick.
Bum Phillips.
That Steeler fans.
Gregory Robinson, I lost it here, but he gave us $5. And I lost the comment, and I'm going to try to pull it back up. So I will apologize for that. But Javier also said, and that was actually, there we go. I cannot find that one, and so I do apologize, but there it is. Rudolph is not a starting QB in the NFL. He has already proven that. It gives us $5. Thank you so much for that. Man, I tell you what, this is great conversation. Chad says that they need to draft a QB. Yeah, that needs to happen. They need to start looking towards the future on that. The Steelers need to rebuild the offensive line this coming off season and draft the future quarterback in the 2022 draft. I think you need to decide which one you need the most. And that's the thing. And if they don't fall down far, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to be, if they put together a few games, you might be at 17, 18 picking. You might be as early as about 14 to pick, but they need to be terrible to go ahead and get that quarterback, and that's a hard thing to do. This team, unless they are absolutely rock bottom, that's just not going to happen. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for everybody in the live chat. We know you bleed black and gold. We know that you want this to be fixed. I think the organization, I think the players, I think everybody wants this to be fixed, and I think it's going to happen. But is it going to happen as soon as we want it to? No, 2021 might be 2003, or it could be 2002 when they started out 1-3, but they're not even at 1-3 yet. So that's a really interesting thing to look at. Next stop is Green Bay. That's going to be really exciting to see them play out in Green Bay and to see what they have and what they could pull out. Could this be 1989 and the Vikings all over again? That would be absolutely awesome, and see how we feel after that. But needless to say, I know that you guys are all still going to be here. And if you're going to be here, check out Behind the Steel Curtain for all your Pittsburgh Steelers needs. We love you. We cannot do these shows without you. We cannot get through the week without you. So thank you so much. And thanks for being a part of our BTSC Steelers family as well. For Shannon White, for Tony Defeo, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. And to quote the great Rowdy Roddy Piper, and throw in an exclamation point from the legendary Ric Flair, just when you think you got all the answers,
we keep changing the questions.
Woo! We will see you later, my friends. Thank you so much, Steeler Nation. We love you.